Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Steven here, back with another video. And today's video, I have to get some things off my chest about a specific player in the NBA. And by the thumbnail is Russell Westbrook. Look, the media has just been disrespecting Russell Westbrook like he's just like some bum. Like this man hasn't been averaging a triple-double since 2017. Like this man hasn't won an MVP. Like they're acting like Russell Westbrook is just not. It's just, he's just a scrub. And guys like Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, a lot of these guys, they just say, "Oh well, he's putting up these big numbers, but he has yet to do anything in the playoffs." Well, if you look back in the 2017 season, if you take Russell Westbrook out of that squad, Thunders don't even make the playoffs. They actually will be picking number 1 overall. 2018, he got PG-13 and he got Carmelo Anthony. They were still trying to figure out things out. And so I understand Russell Westbrook hasn't had the best track records in the playoffs. Ever since KD left, he hasn't been out of the first round. It wasn't, I think, until 2020 when he was with the Houston Rockets, he finally got past the first round with James Harden. And in that playoff, he was hurt. Like, I think if Russell played all those series, you can make an argument that, Rockets probably could have upset the Lakers, but I highly doubt it. But you could have made that argument. He was hurt in that playoff game. He barely even played that much because I think he only played 57 games that entire season. So I still think this is like thing going around where like, hey, you can't win with Russell. I mean, he did make it to the NBA Finals. I think in 2013 with KD. Like, you clearly can make it to the finals. You clearly can win a championship with this guy. Now, I know there's a lot of, is he overrated or is he underrated? Russell is just one of those weird players where, like, in some sense, you can say he's overrated, but you can make a case like, he's very underrated. And that's where I'm going to get into. Now, I'm going to get into why I think he's overrated. Russell can generate you a lot of offense for you with his playmaking and driving ability. That kind of gives a team a solid floor. Most of Russell teams are okay regular season team. Even when KD left, Russell hasn't made it back to the finals. Despite playing with elite superstars like, Carmelo, Paul George, James Harden, now with Bradley Beal. He now plays on his third team with the Washington Wizards and is he's barely even making it to the play-in with Bradley Beal. So you can make a case like, he played with a lot of great players, but yet you couldn't even make it to the finals or even win the championship with these great players. But yet, he's pitting up, these triple-double numbers every night, and yet he can't even make the finals. One of Russell's problem is his usage rate. He had a usage rate of 41.7% during his MVP season and hasn't dipped below 30% until this past season with the Washington Wizards, whereas his usage rate is 29.4, barely below the 30% mark. He has a high usage percentage when he's on the floor. You can see on the tape that Russell, he's a ball dominant player. The number backs it up. While he goes a lot of possession when he's on the floor, he's actually an elite passer, but he also gets a lot of turnovers. Russell, he hasn't averaged less than 4.5 turnovers since Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City. Turnovers are a natural part of a guard, but a lot of turnovers, it can hurt a momentum for a team and create easy baskets for the opposing team. I know Russell, he puts up eye-popping numbers. Like, when you look at his numbers, you like, bro, how can you do this for 4 straight seasons, putting numbers up like that every night, every game? Like, you don't see a lot of players do this, and he just passed Oscar Robertson for the most triple doubles in NBA history. Now, He hasn't been a great three-point shooter throughout his whole career. His career three-pointer percentage is 30.5% for his whole career. His shooting brings his efficiency down, but he still has a healthy amount of attempts from the beyond the arc. 4.7 attempts per game during the 2021 season. His scoring is also at the lowest it's ever been since his sophomore year. Only 19.3 points per game. Now let's talk about his lack of postseason success. When Chris Paul got traded to Oklahoma City for Russell Westbrook, he led the Oklahoma City further in the postseason than Russell has ever did without Kevin Durant. As sad as that seemed, that's a true stat. Well, however, in OKC never had a knockdown shooters that that can shoot the 3-point well and that can play elite defense. Westbrook is one of the people who needs a team around him that can shoot to make him succeed. Similar like how the Bucks did with Giannis. They surrounded him with players that can play defense and that can shoot the lights out. Now let's talk about how Russell is underrated. Now Russell is doing something that's unheard of. He is averaging a triple-double, something that no one has ever done since Oscar Robertson, and he has been doing it for 4 straight seasons. Now they say Russell is a selfish player in the league, but yet he leads the NBA in assists. No one ever talks about him being one of the best passers in the NBA. I've never seen a player receive so much hate for being a great player. What Westbrook is doing is absolutely insane. I just really feel like he's just grossly underrated. If it was so easy to dish out 10 assists and grab 10 boards a game, then why isn't it every player doing that every game? Why isn't Luka doing that? Why is it LeBron doing that? Why is it KD or Kyrie or Steph? Why aren't they doing that? If it's so easy to do those things, then why aren't these great players doing it? The fact that he's not even mentioned in the top 5 or top 10 conversation is completely disrespectful to what he has done over the course of 5 to 6 seasons in his career. And I want to track back to his lack of success in the playoffs. Whenever people think about, he hasn't been out of the first round, they're quick to blame it on Russell like it's all his fault for some reason. And the narrative has been that Russell needs to be better in the playoffs, and he's the reason that his team doesn't find success. What I think is blasphemous to me. Only is the narrative untrue, but Russell deserves a lot of credit for getting his team where they are. Since 2016, he has averaged 26.1 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, 10 assists, and has shot 44% on the floor. So it's kind of hard to say that a player averaging a triple-double over the course of 5 seasons is the reason why his team is struggling. And for some reason, there's a narrative that Russell is a quote-unquote bad locker room player that no one enjoys being around or playing with because he's selfish and a ball hog. Well, I hate to break the news, but he has been one of the great players in the league, quote-unquote, as a ball hog, because that's how you score. You have to have the ball in your hands to also be great. And his teammate Bradley Beal said that he claims that Russell is the best teammate he's ever had. And Bradley Beal has played with John, and he's over here saying that Russell is the best teammate he has ever had. And I think overall, Russell has been one of the most underappreciated players in the NBA. He broke Oscar Robertson's record that stood for 47 years. And now Russell holds the record for the most triple-double ever with 182. Russell has basically every triple-double record you can imagine. The most triple-double in the season, the most consecutive triple-doubles in the season. He's the only player other than Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double for a full season. Something Russ has done 4 out of the last 5 seasons. This will be the 4th season he's recording 700 rebounds and 700 assists, which is also a record. And I think Russell keep pinning up the numbers that he's doing. If he keep averaging a triple-double until he retires, and let's say Russell, he even gets 1 championship, I'm going to give a hot take here. If he gets even one championship in his career, Russell should be in the GOAT conversation with LeBron and MJ. I'm going to say it right here. You don't just put up like MJ never even had those type of numbers. LeBron never had those type of numbers. When you look at Russell numbers, if you never knew nothing about basketball and you looked at LeBron, MJ, and Russell's number, and you ask the person who you think is the GOAT, you will look strictly at Russell's number and be like, oh, he's the GOAT for sure. I think Russell, all he needs is one championship. I'm not saying he's the GOAT, but I think like you can make an argument he can be in that conversation. I think he's a top five greatest point guard of all time. I would put him around that 4 or 5 range because his numbers, the numbers that he puts up, is unreal. No one has ever done what Russell was doing, and I think Russell is one of the all-time great players, and I think he's just been being slept on, just disrespected in the NBA and by the media. So that's all I have for you guys for today. Let me know what you guys think. Do y'all think Russell is overrated or you think he's underrated? Honestly, I think he's underrated. That's my answer. I think he's just a very underrated player. I think he's just being disrespected by the media and by fans. Like he's not like a Hall of Fame player. Like Russell can retire right now. To me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You don't just put up those numbers and those stats and not be in the Hall of Fame. And with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening to this by audio on the podcast, make sure you give the podcast a 5-star review. And I'm out. Peace.
Don't fuck around cause we been drilling like Afghanistan. You play with us, we got them sticks like we play in a band. We doing hits, I tell my boys jump out the minivan. Just hold your power because I'm coming. Don't fuck around cause we been drilling like Afghanistan. You play with us, we got them sticks like we play in a band.